What is the goal of life? Is it to fill your pockets with so much money that you can impress, buy, or bribe anyone just to feel important for a little while? Because as we all know, that feeling is only temporary. Death comes for everyone. And as my father always told me, there's a reason you never see a U-Haul behind a hearse. You can't take it with you. Money is useless in heaven. Love is the only currency you need. As one Bible verse says, it's easier for a camel to pass through the eye of a needle than for a rich man to enter the gates of heaven. Perhaps the real goal is to positively impact others, using the gifts that you have been given to inspire hope and to help everyone you meet believe in that their dreams are possible. So even when they confront the demons we all carry inside, they feel the strength within themselves to overcome, with happiness and joy in their hearts. Who am I kidding? Very few of us truly live that way. More often, we find ourselves focused on our own needs, not the needs of others, including me. This story is about one of the rare few that has lived that way, juxtaposed with someone who chose the path that most of us do. It's told in the hope that maybe, just maybe, someone reading this in a library, in the sanctity of their own home, or even picking up a ragged copy on the street, will feel the power of change. One person may not be able to make a difference alone, but their example may inspire others to follow, and so on, and so on. Meet Abigor, a 40-year-old man born to parents by any stretch of the imagination would never be considered rich in terms of money. But their hearts overflowed with love, generosity, and kindness. Abi, the name his parents called him most, felt that their kindness, even towards those who hurt or selfishly took advantage of them, made them appear weak. Anger took root in Abdi. He developed not only resentment towards his parents, but also desire for revenge against those who had created the environment he was born into. What he didn't realize was that in his own bitterness, he was now carrying out the very legacy those cruel people had imposed on his family. Anka belonged to a different kind of family, one marked with both cruelty and divine blessing. Her name reflected this paradox: favored grace. He, God, favored me. She was born with the gift of perspective and instinctively knew how to navigate differences in people, simply because she witnessed them every day. On nights of reflection, lying in bed and listening to the good, the bad, and the ugly of her parents' loud arguments, where her father's selfishly motivated opinions often steamrolled her sweet mother's vision of family, Anka realized that she had a choice to make: how she wanted to walk through the rest of her life. She chose to follow the example she admired the most, her mother. From that point on, in every situation, kindness and love became her first and last considerations. With each passing day, she felt herself becoming more like the person she aspired to be. Abi, on the other hand, learned to be tough and never let an opportunity pass where he could gain an advantage, whether by acting as a tyrant or scheming to take what mattered most to others. Sometimes it was their pride in a family member's accomplishment or a small financial success. Abi would mock them, belittling their achievements as insignificant and unworthy of joy. Eventually, he began working for some of the very people who had once disparaged him, those who had taken great pleasure in exploiting the generous, giving nature of his parents. Before long, he was not only successful, but found satisfaction in embracing the role of being a bully. Spiritually, Abi grew up going to the mosque with his parents and praying several times a day. He was raised with positive values and no hate. The lesson he heard from the religious leaders were rooted in love, and as a child he not only embraced them, but lived them, until hate found a way to carve a path into his soul. When I think of these two paths, one chasing love, the other clinging to anger and hate, it makes me sad. And if I'm being honest, it also makes me mad. I know, as a storyteller, I should remain in a place of non-judgment. But I have opinions. Let's get back to this story. Anka grew up and had to navigate a world full with people who often reacted from a place of negativity. In those moments, she would remember the decisions she had made years ago, lying in bed, choosing love and kindness. She completed high school, and thanks to her positive can-do attitude, she applied and received several scholarships. Anka felt she was walking the path that God intended for her. Her faith was a blend of Buddhism and Christianity. She believed that Jesus and Buddha shared a vision of love that seemed to intertwine. To her, the biggest difference lay in the concepts of reincarnation versus reconciliation in eternity in heaven. Both, she thought, offered a beautiful way to transition from this all too brief life. One thing I haven't mentioned yet is that these two people are brother and sister, both adopted at birth. Neither knew about the other, and each was shaped by their environment or innate disposition. One developed a vision of a higher purpose, striving to benefit society and leave the world better than they found it. The other sought to exploit the vulnerable, those without the means to defend themselves, driven by an unrelenting pursuit of money and power, no matter who he had to hurt to achieve it. Observing these two stirred a conflict within my own soul. I was at the age where I was beginning to discover who I was and what kind of person I wanted to become. I certainly didn't want my story to read like that of a villain, but I also didn't want to feel like a victim in someone else's narrative. At 40, Abi had far more money than Anka. He lived in a large house with a swimming pool, while Anka lived in the heart of the city. In fact, she was the heart of the city. Her kindness and love reached anyone in need. Once I saw her share her last few dollars of her paycheck with someone who needed help, after already offering them food and a blanket to keep warm. Abi had a wife and children, but you never saw him spend time or any precious moments with them. He always was focused on money. He never wanted to be seen as less than to others. He wanted to dominate and project his image of strength. What he didn't realize was that, to most people, his appearance actually resembled weakness. He never felt he could show any vulnerability, because to him, that was a sign of weakness. As time passed, things inevitably changed for both Abi and Anka. As they grew older, Abi began asserting his dominance at home, eventually becoming abusive towards his wife and children. Over time, his wife found the strength to leave him. When they divorced, she secured a settlement that ultimately benefited their children more than Abi ever did when he was with them. Anka found a life partner who shared her worldview and deep appreciation for mutual love. Together, Anka and Satu woke up each day with fulfilled souls and love in their hearts. They eventually made a home in a small loft in the city with large windows that opened onto a tiny deck that they built together on their fire escape. They adorned it with stringed lights and vibrant, colorful flowers. Abi wallowed in self-pity. His outlook grew darker. He became convinced that God was against him and that no one needed or wanted to love him. Hatred consumed his heart, and as a result, he lost the compassion and love that his faith and the example set by his mother and father had once instilled in him. Now tell me, what is the goal of our life? I know these are stark examples, and I understand there are many shades of gray in between. But we can make a conscious decision about which side of the line we want to be on. Someone once said, life is like writing a book. You should want to write the best book possible. When I read these stories, I find myself wanting to be the hero, not the bad guy. So I made a decision to gravitate towards Anka's vision. The world isn't always easy. Outside forces can cloud your sense of who you are and how you want to be remembered. Whatever happened to Abi, he ended up in jail, lost most of his money. When he got out, he had nothing. No money, no one to be there for him when he needed it most. His lack of focus on love and the lessons of faith led him to the streets, where days and weeks passed without a morsel of food or even a friendly smile. Then one day, he walked into a soup kitchen. As he looked around, he noticed familiar eyes like his, but her soul seemed to glow. Would you like some soup? Maybe a warm blanket? Someone asked. He was stunned. He had never felt such warmth and love before. He was at a loss for words. Never had anyone looked at him and seemed so deeply connected to his soul. It was Anka. It was like Abdi had been given several sheets of blank paper to start rewriting his book. Maybe this time, because of reuniting with Anka and the love that he felt, his ending will be happy. But that really is his decision to make, as it is for all of us. When it comes to love or money, I will always choose love. Always. Because truly, that's what life is all about. And as the Beatles said, you can't buy me love. Thank you for listening. If you liked it, please click on the subscribe button and click on the bell. I appreciate you taking the time to listen to my story. It really, really means a lot to me. God bless.